Welcome back. I'm Spencer. This is Jamie. And together we're rattling cages. Jamie, what you got for us today?
Man, if you guys want to like and subscribe the page, we're giving away this solid pack of sound gear, hearing protection, and amplifying equipment. Sound gear is incredible. If you don't know, they make the custom molds that the majority of the drivers wear while they're driving. So once we hit the 100 subscriber mark, we are fairly new. We will be giving that away to one of those lucky subscribers, so check it out.
Boy, that sure is sweet. I think I'm going to have to go on my other YouTube and subscribe just for the chance to get in on that. I tell you what, I like that. But we are here post-Phoenix. We got a lot to say about it, so we're going to jump right in. Jamie, just real quick, first impressions on Phoenix. Good race, bad race, indifferent?
Phoenix was incredible. Usually Phoenix is spread out and the top 6 are on the lead lap. Yeah, the option tire made it everything. You saw a lot of different strategies from different teams varying across the board. Overall, the Phoenix race that hit home on the entertainment list for me.
Let's go. And like Kenny Wallace says, we're up like 2 million viewers each week this year in NASCAR. Yeah. It is growing. I love to see it. Just like this channel. So getting right into it, we let off and pretty quickly we got Joey Logano. He had a penalty crossing the start-finish line. He got a little too low, a little too quick, and boy did he whine about it in that Yankee accent. Just, what? No, it can't be. What's your take on that one?
I gotta be honest. I feel like that's another one of those NASCAR things. You gotta go back to the old right hook. I feel like we're gonna go back to that a lot based on what we saw from Austin Dillon at Richmond. And then, you know, they decided then that a right hook was a suspension. Fair enough. A right hook is a suspension. Glad everybody knows. Well, as it turns out, a right hook is not necessarily a suspension because there's all types of variables. Again, it depends on what NASCAR feels like they feel like doing. And that's another NASCAR thing. They said that if you go below the yellow line at Phoenix at any point before your entire vehicle is across the start-finish line on a restart, it's a penalty. But I mean, it was, They split the smallest of hairs. And it was like, give me a freaking break, dude.
Just like in any other sport, though, I think this one is even more black and white. Just like in any other sport. In football, if your foot is just, you can make the most spectacular catch in football, but if just a little bit of your cleat is touching just a little bit of that white line, it's incomplete. Same thing in tennis. If that ball is just off of that white line, guess what? Point doesn't count. Sorry about it, friend. So to me, that is the way that one goes. And, you know, we know that Joey Logano is going to whine, but to me, you gotta eat that one. And boy, was it costly on the day.
Yeah.
So then you move on a little bit forward, and here goes Catherine Legge spinning around the backstretch. I know you've got a lot to say on this one. What are your thoughts on Catherine Legge and Live Fast Motorsports?
What the is she doing in the race? That's what I want to know. I don't care if it's the 16th, 25th, or 41st woman in NASCAR. When you hear her interview at the beginning of the race, and you hear that her main goal is to finish all the laps, it's nothing but a publicity stunt for NASCAR. And lo and behold, on the 5th lap, she can't even get off turn 4 because her car is tight. Holy cow. Cars are tight the whole race for most people, but you know what? They get off the corners. She only had 40 laps of practice. That was her full experience in a NASCAR stock car. But because NASCAR wanted a publicity stunt, and I'm sure she brought in some money, they put her in the race. And what sucks the most is it took out a top 5 car in Daniel Suarez. The Mexican Wonder Kid had a race going, dude. He had it going. And I'm so glad his quote finally came out because, as I put it, these lappers. My gosh. What would you feel like if you had a top 5 car on a track you generally don't perform well at? You're generally in the mid-pack and you are in the top 5 and you have a publicity stunt spin out in front of you and ruin your day. How would that make you feel?
It would definitely rattle my cage a little bit, that's for sure. And Daniel Suarez didn't deserve that. And man, that second incident was quite the spectacle because Fox was right there on it, man. It was almost like they were proud of her at that point. Like, look, we got Catherine Legge in here. She might have spun at the beginning, but look at her go now. She's up 5 spots, and as they're talking about it, here she goes around. But my whole take on it is, what are we doing in Phoenix anyways with Live Fast Motorsports? It's not good equipment. I don't care who you put in that car. You could put Kevin Harvick in that car. He's just going to be lap fodder. That car is just going to be lap fodder at best. So then you put a driver who I've been told that she had 4 ARCA races under her belt. I haven't seen that from an original source, but definitely no cup experience, little stock car experience. So you've got all these things stacking up against you. What is NASCAR doing letting this car, this entry in the race? I really don't know. I don't know what they expected other than that. But like you said, it took out a really good car. Daniel Suarez, maybe not the best equipment for that race. However, was really making it work with the strategy, with the tires. He was working his way up. Like you said, top 5, top 6 at the time that it happened. And it just ends his day. For the 3rd week in a row, Daniel Suarez out of the race. It's just, it's really tough to see for a driver who's, I mean, let's be honest, he's probably fighting for his seat at Trackhouse this year. So I really hated to see that for him. That was something else. And speaking of rough starts to the year, can we talk about Ty Gibbs for a minute? Grandpappy's little boy is just having a terrible go at it. I saw a statistic the other day in his last 9 races, going back to last year, his average is in the 30s. I mean, Jamie, a lot of times we don't have 30 cars that are finishing the race, let alone on the lead lap. So in the last 9 races, he's averaging not even being on the lead lap. And yet he's in a premier car with Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, of course, he's got great sponsors with Monster Energy. There's plenty of money there. But what's your thoughts on Ty Gibbs right now? Does he got the talent to hold the seat?
I feel like if he wasn't related to Coach, he wouldn't be there. I can think of one driver who deserves that seat more than anybody, who has shown more results than Ty Gibbs, and that would be Corey LaJoie. I think Corey LaJoie would have put up numbers twice as good as Ty Gibbs and would have at least be finishing mid-pack. But this kid has been consistently just letting everybody down. But because he is related to Coach Gibbs, he's got the seat. So at what point does Coach take a look at what he's got and say, you know what, Ty, it's time to hang it up? Because I don't see that happening.
Yeah, no, maybe he even goes the direction of Austin Dillon, start taking over some roles within the organization, but maybe not in the driver's seat because it is just not there right now. I know he had plenty of wins, had some great success in the Xfinity Series, but it is just not transferring to the Cup Series right now.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying about Corey LaJoie. He may leave a trail of other racers in his wake, but like you said, he's a good driver. He's going to be there at the end in some way, shape, or form, and at least able to hold on to the lower end of Joe Gibbs Racing to keep a respectable finish. And I mean, look at Hendricks right now, the other 4-car team. I think Kyle Larson right now is low man on the totem pole in the standings in 11th. You've got all 4 of their drivers essentially in the top 10. I certainly don't think there's a power ranking in the nation that would keep Kyle Larson out of the top 10. So when you look at the competition, what you've got to hold up against, it's not cutting mustard right now. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think by the end of the year, we're going to hear a lot of talk about him being on the hot seat.
Yeah, I'd personally love to see Ty Gibbs get the hell out of there.
Yep. And I mean, like, say what you want, I think the wreck this week had a lot to do with him.
Because he was the one that caused the whole Chase Briscoe sandwich.
Yep, that's right. Yep. So yeah, a rough start for that team for sure. So then, just kind of going through the race, I felt like we had a pretty good first stage, pretty eventful. You had Ryan Preece was the first taker on the option tires, which we're definitely going to get into in a little bit. Everybody got to kind of key off of that. Joey Logano takes his penalty. Now, I thought it was really, really cool to see him go to the option tire early on. And I guess the end of that second stage, he took the option tires and ran 60, 70 laps on it. That's really what I'm looking to see with this new softer tire compound, is that the skill really rises to the top. Anybody can get on those tires and take a 30 lap green flag run and run their way to the top. But to hold those things for 70 laps and to only lose the lead there at the end, that as much as I am not a fan of Joey Logano, that really showed some skill. And, it shows why he's up there in the power rankings for sure, and why he's always there year in and year out at the end. So then we got great couple stages. We see some great parity between strategy with the different tire strategies. Then we come down there to the third stage. So, third stage, I'm watching Chase Elliott's, I'm listening to a scanner rather, and they just decide, we don't have the setup we want right now. We're kind of losing it. We're going to come on in and pit. Maybe we can make it work, short pitting some folks. They come in, get new tires, make an adjustment. William Byron from close to the lead does the same thing. Like, all right, let's see if this will work for us as well. And then right at that time, we got Bubba Wallace. He ends up with I think it was a brake rotor issue. And straight into the wall. I was listening on DBC. His spotter was talking about he got an F right before it hit, because he knew what was happening as it was going down. But pins those two cars. Well, I say pins both cars a lap down. Pins Chase a lap down. Had to take the wave around. I think Byron might have got the lucky dog off of it. But regardless, puts them in a real bad position coming to the finish. And both of them were able to work their way back up into the top 10. But then let's talk about that finish, because to me, that is what saved the race. Like, going into the last green, white checker, the overtime finish, I was kind of still up in the air. Like, yeah, the tires helped it, but it's still Phoenix. Like, we've seen 5 and 6 second gaps going into first place between first and second. Like, I could take it or leave it. But wow, that ending. So set the folks up, walk us through that ending, and give us what you thought about it.
Man, I love the ending. I love that it was Phoenix was a Hendrick takeover. Byron was the car to beat with Joey Logano to start. Kyle Larson was strong to finish. Bowman came back strong as always. And Chase Elliott did the damn thing and came back. Hendrick was definitely the team to beat at Phoenix. And I'm so glad that Mike Joy didn't put that caution light down in the bottom, because I was just hoping and praying that they didn't end that godforsaken race, which happened to be one of the better Phoenix races under caution. But
he tried to. Did you hear him coming to the white flag? He goes, caution, yellow flag, yellow flag. Oh, no, it's the white flag. It's the white flag. It's like, oh my gosh, dude, get it right.
This is what I did when he said that. I was like this. No, Mike Joy, I hope your eyes are as bad as you think they are.
And they were.
And yeah, the finish was great. I mean, you can't script a better finish at Phoenix to almost be 3 wide coming off. You're talking about an Atlanta type of finish. But to see Denny Hamlin, who was not somebody who thought he had a chance to win. There was no way in hell he thought he had a chance to win. But the fact that he had a chance to win coming to the checkered flag was cool. Kyle Larson coming down there, being close up there, and the fact that it was all clean the whole way throughout. I'll put a little plug into the Xfinity Series race to everybody that thinks that Eric Almirola, who did he put into the wall a little bit?
He put Bowman into the wall.
So Bowman, the showman, you've been in the show, dude. You're racing stock cars. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get put in the wall, especially after turn 4 coming to the checkered flag. Grow a pair, dude. You lost the race to a better driver at that time, and Eric Almirola showed you the ropes, my dude.
See, I've got a completely opposite take on that.
Oh.
To me, he had the chance. If he'd have gotten to his back bumper coming around Ford, fine, I can deal with that. If you get into my back bumper, I got a chance to do the thing and drive out of it. I can do some hero stuff, and I can show my skill and drive to the finish line. I still have a chance to be the better driver and to beat you. If you get me loose in the back rear, I guess that's the same thing. But if I've got a run coming on the outside, Amarola, he came up and, like, of course he's going to use him up. Of course he gets loose going into it. He drove into the corner knowing exactly what he was getting ready to do. And if you pin somebody against the wall, well, guess what? Like, physics doesn't change because it's a good finish. The physics says he can't win at that point. So to me, that was, I can handle using somebody up, and I'm fine with the way it ends. But to have Young Life on your car and get out and say, yeah, I'm just proud to give one for the good Lord Jesus Christ and to show these teenagers the way to go, man, I am just not about that. That was a complete turnoff for me. I was not having that whatsoever. So to me, between the two endings, that was the dirty one. But yeah, the cup race, I thought that was clean sailing all the way. Yeah, he got into him a little bit. He expected it. Denny Hamlin's done it all the way. But yeah, Eric Amarola, the clean cut, got everything right. Let's do that. And did you see Bubba Wallace's tweet? So
I did.
Bubba Wallace got into it in a meeting the other year, but last year, and got Amarola out of his car for a while. But they kept it real hush-hush, just that it was some type of physical altercation. And then here Bubba Wallace comes in talking about, they're saying it was a sucker punch. It's like just a little bit of an insight to what may have happened the other year. So, I thought that was pretty entertaining. But all in all, either way, like you said, it really wasn't that bad of a move, and both endings were very entertaining.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see there were no NASCAR interferences, and the race just happened to play out, and I think most of us race fans were happy with that. I was.
That's right. So, I left both races really enjoying it, thought it was good racing all the way through. And so then that brings us to Christopher Bell with 3 in a row. How about that?
Who's going to stop this guy? Who can stop Christopher Bell?
I know a couple people that are going to try, but boy, it's looking like the C. Bell show right now.
Man, I think we're on fire right now. I believe we picked him to win at COTA, and I'm pretty sure I picked him to win this race on our poll on our Facebook page.
Sure did. We got receipts for it.
We're 2 for 2, and I got a pretty bold prediction for Las Vegas that I don't think you're going to see coming.
Well, if it's Bell, I do see it coming because he led over 100 laps last fall and ended up in second place. But either way, the people may have to wait till Friday on that one. So, anything else on Phoenix before we move on to these tires, which I guess is still on Phoenix, but...
No.
Let's talk tires a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk primary. Let's talk option.
So we had the option tire. Denny Hamlin, a lot of these guys, Dale Jr. have been pushing for a softer tire for years now. Ever since the next gen car came out. Let's be honest. The next gen car is only good on road courses and intermediates on its own. The super speedway package is not great. The short track package is terrible, and they looked to Goodyear. They said, listen, bail us out again. What can you do for us? And, if you're sitting there as a Goodyear executive, listen, this is my name on the tire. If I'm trying to get people to buy my tires, I don't want them to see it wearing out super quick like a softer compound. What are you talking about here? We're going to make a hard, slick compound that's going to go all race, and it could keep going into the next week if we wanted it to. But they finally got it down to where it's got some really good fall off at the end. It's a soft, quick, really responsive tire at the beginning, lots of control, and showed some good fall off. I heard in the 50 lap range, you're having upwards of 2-3 seconds of fall off, which is really what we're wanting to see there. And there was a lot of parity between, and I gotta be careful with my words because those two words really close. Parity, I'm just gonna say that over again. Parity with like an E, I don't know, whatever. Regardless,
Spencer has lost his mind, folks.
I have. That's nothing new. But yeah, there was a huge difference between the prime tire and the option tire.
Night and
The
day.
soft reds were doing really good. Anytime somebody put them on and other people were on yellows, they were going right past them, moving up to the lead. And if the run went long enough, they were falling back. It was great to see. It made for some great strategy. It saved Phoenix, as it has Martinsville, as it did Bristol. I know this isn't technically a short track, being a mile, but kind of feels that way to me in a lot of ways. So I was really happy to see the tire. I don't think anybody's complaining about these option tires. My question to you, and I think what the main debate is going to be going forward, is do we stick with the options as far as having a prime and an option tire, or do we just go to the softer compound and make them figure it out in the championship race in Phoenix coming up in November?
If there was somebody that was complaining about this option tire, I would say they don't know what this they're talking about. This option tire brought Phoenix to life. Ryan Preece was the first individual to show that a subpar vehicle, Ryan Preece is very capable of winning a race, but he's not going to win Phoenix 9 times out of 10. But to show that he can come from 18th to 1st in 15 laps, 20 laps, that's a tire. That's not the driver. That's not the car. That's the tire. You have a tire that's doing lap times 1 second faster than everybody else each lap, which is light years of time. I personally,
he was basically passing a car a lap.
Yeah, sometimes 4 or 5 cars in a corner. It's crazy what these drivers were showing these cars could do on the option tire. I agree with you, and I agree with Denny Hamlin, that the option tire should be the only thing that they run, because not only does it give the option, no pun intended, for the car to go quicker and have more grip, but it will give the drivers with better skill the opportunity to show that skill. These tires can only go in upwards of 70 laps. So there was a time where Ryan Preece was actually never braking around Phoenix, which is unheard of, because he was trying to keep his brake rudder so cool to save his tires, and he was able to prolong that life. There are some drivers that could do a better job than that, and you're going to see those drivers rise to the top. I think that next year they need to go away with the option and make that option the primary. Soft tires only at Phoenix. Yes, you'll have some blowouts. You'll have some people who push them too hard, but that takes you back to who's the best driver. The best driver is going to handle their tires appropriately.
Yep. And I mean, like, you look at F1, they have to have that. What do they have? 3 different tires. Because at the end of the day, they don't have great racing. They have a couple good teams who are fast, and in any given track, you know which team is going to have the speed. So you've got to have some different tire options to keep things remotely interesting.
Yeah.
Well, this is stock car, and I don't think you need that. My only question is, are we going to see it, like, even if with that softer tire compound, we have all those things we were talking about, that the cream rises to the top, will we see the larger gaps again in the fall if we just go with 1 tire?
God, I hope not. A part of me wants to say we will, because you have those top 10 drivers that are so good, and then you have the 15 in the middle, and then you have the 10 in the back that are, if you put them in 3 different skill levels, that's what you've got. And I feel like we'll see that. But at the same time, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of torn. Whatever makes the race at Phoenix like we just saw, I would like to see NASCAR do again.
I agree. And I mean, if we only bring the one tire, so it's going to spread out a little bit in the second stage and into the beginning of the third stage. Go make a sandwich, get a drink. But you better be in your seat with 40 to go, because it's going to get wild. There's going to be some folks who do not have any tire left. They're going to be all over the place, and that caution is going to stack them back up. I'll call it now. I think we're going to have a green-white checker to end the season this year. So you can put me on the books for that one. All right. So speaking of hopeful champions, you were getting me riled up earlier about my boy Chase Elliott. Set the folks up. What were we talking about earlier?
Man, I feel like Chase has been the biggest disappointment in NASCAR this year. The most popular driver, he's the fan favorite. Every time you go to a race, his hauler's got the biggest line to get merchandise. If you need to buy a wristband to get an autograph, that's impossible. But man, he has just sucked ass when it comes to being the guy that you think is going to win a race. That's who the fans of NASCAR see Chase Elliott as, the guy that's going to be the front runner. This is the driver that everyone's going to have to beat, is Chase Elliott. He hasn't even been close to that.
Man, I got a couple points on that. So, first off, I don't think that's why they love Chase Elliott. They love Chase Elliott because he's the last little just sliver of a string connecting us to the golden era of NASCAR. Yeah, it has to do with the name. It's Bill Elliott. It's all that. But it also has to do with the consistency. If you look at the Winston Cup, I think it's Iceberg on YouTube. Every week he posts the Winston Cup standings. If we were still using that point setup, who would be leading the season right now? And Chase Elliott last year, 85% of the time, he was up there in the lead. I think that has a big deal to do with it. But then if you go to this year, I mean, hell, this was the first week that he wasn't wrecked. He got wrecked in Daytona. He got wrecked in Atlanta. He got spun on the first lap of COTA and still fought back to a top 10. So then this week, they did not have that set up right. I don't know what they missed. I don't know what they didn't get right. He was a 15th to 20th place car all day long. Still found a way to drive his ass off at the end and salvage a top 10 out of it. That was awesome to see.
Yeah, but do you expect Chase Elliott to be a 15th to 20th place car?
No, not at all. And he wasn't. He finished 10th. But hear me out. So he struggled in Vegas. Vegas hadn't been his best track where they're going next. But then we got Homestead. He finished 5th at Homestead last year. It's an intermediate track. Expect some good racing. Then we go to Martinsville. He finished 2nd and 3rd at Martinsville last year. Then we go to Darlington. Darlington's a place where you expect skill to rise to the top. Think he has a wonderful chance there. What do we got after that? Bristol. Bristol in the next-gen car, he has finished 2nd, 7th, 8th, and 2nd. Then we're going to Dega, where he won in 2022.
I'll be there.
You and Mason, I saw that today. That's going to be great. He's going to love that. But then we go to Texas, where he won last year. And then we go to Kansas, where he's been in the top 10 the last 4 races. The man's got it set up. He's about to get it going. I'm buying Chase Elliott. Give me all the Chase Elliott stock.
So what do you say if after these next 5 races, he's not that driver that you say he's been? What's happened to Chase Elliott?
At that point, what am I saying?
Yeah. What?
You're saying if we make it to the All-Star race, he doesn't have a win. What am I saying?
Yeah, if he continues on the trend that he's on, what's happened to Chase Elliott?
Oh, well, he's Mr. Consistency, and it really doesn't matter to the playoffs. He's going to be there anyways. That's what I'll be saying, Jamie. You know it. In all seriousness, I do see the point. Ever since the injury and the suspension, it has not been the same. The Gen 6 car was really his thing. He had his championship in the Gen 6 car. He was unbeatable on road courses in that car. Since then, it just has not quite been the same. But yeah, win, lose, or draw, I'm there for the Dawsonville kid.
So I want your thoughts on something before we move on. What is it that Christopher Bell and his team are doing? Why are they so unbeatable?
Man, I really think that last year at Martinsville lit a fire under him when they colluded against him in Martinsville and knocked him out. What did that keep him out of the round of 4 and kept him out of the championship, I suppose? It was just, I mean, he was the man going into that too. He was my pick to win the championship going into the playoffs last year. And I just really think that he took that as a challenge. His whole team took it as a challenge. So he's in good equipment. I mean, there's a lot to be said for him being the if he's not the number one at Joe Gibbs right now, he is really close to it, and he will be within the next couple years. So I think it's all the chips in that basket. I think they're all in on Seabell. I think he is locked in, bound and determined that this is his year, that nothing's going to stand in his way, and it's going to be a Seabell show until, probably Dega in the round of 8 when he gets spun and wrecked at some point and misses it again. God, I can't stand this playoff format, but we're going to get into that on Friday. But yeah, I think Christopher Bell is the one right now. He's definitely the one to beat, and I think he's probably my pick for Vegas next week. I think he's going to make this thing 5 in a row. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. I can't wait. But let's see. So I guess that takes us to our final thoughts if we are going to save some of this other stuff for Friday. Again, this is going to be our first week with 2 shows. I keep saying Friday. We're going to record Friday night. We'll be back with y'all on Saturday. But final thoughts, we already got through my final thought. My final thought was on Eric Almirola. What's your final thought for the day?
My final thought is that NASCAR pulled a really publicity stunt when it came to Catherine Legge, and it screwed up an incredible top 5 finish car for Daniel Suarez. So kudos to you, NASCAR. You put a little money in your pocket, but you screwed people over in the process. Thank you.
That's right. So I guess my final thought will just be how I'm feeling for Justin Allgaier right now after he was so strong in that Xfinity race and had to give way to the boys who raced it out at the end. But yeah, that's what we got for Rattlin' Cages. Join us again Saturday. We're going to preview Vegas. I'm going to talk a little bit of F1 as we're getting ready to go into Australia, Mike. And Jamie and I are going to fix the playoffs. So come join us on Saturday. But for now, I'm Spencer. That's Jamie. If we haven't rattled your cage, we'll try a little bit harder next time. We're out.
See ya.